Coach Dave Brixius on here right now. He has a gym, EXP. It's a great gym. I've been going to the gym for I don't know how many years now, but Dave's been my trainer for a long time, and he got me right all through high school and everything. So I'm just here talking to him today about uh, him running his business, his journey, and the struggles that he went through, and him not wasting his talent that he had and coming through and really opening his gym. So what I really wanted to start with, just jumping right into it, is what made you want to open up a gym?
I think the main thing was I saw a need. I used to work in physical therapy, and I saw a need for these younger athletes starting to get hurt. And I'm like, we got to do better. We got to do better in this healthcare community. That we need to get people so they don't have to go to physical therapy, the doctors, and all this other kind of stuff. Because healthcare costs were on the rise back then. That's 20-some years ago. Now they're out of control. But that was my whole main mission, to get people to become and really realize what they could really accomplish in life. Because I think we were missing out on how good could you really be. You know what I mean? If you had a little bit more strength, a little bit more speed, what could you do as an athlete?
Yeah.
And I think that was one of my main things is what could I bring to the table to get people to do that? And it really started out with young people, but then some of my clients started to become 40, 50, 60-year-olds that wanted to stay in shape. They wanted to do things well later on in life. And so I started to develop that kind of stuff with, bonding with them to say, hey, I still want to bike. I have a guy who's in his 70s that still competitively bikes, goes out there and sees how many miles he can get, still competes and all that kind of stuff. And he wanted to stay as healthy as possible. And I think that was one of my main missions in life of why I wanted to do it, because I wanted to help people realize their true potential.
So going through that, and I feel like through you helping people realize their potential, you realize yours.
Yeah.
And opening a gym is not easy. Opening any type of business or even like brick and mortar is not easy. So when you first started opening the gym, what were some things that you had to face that another person might have just gave up on, but you kept going through? Because that happens a lot in business. You start to do something and everybody else, they want to do something. But then you see, you've been here for like what, 20 years?
20 years. Yep.
And you see where you're at now, and people that might have tried to copy you when you first, started. So
Yeah.
how was that journey, and what happened when when you first started?
Yeah, I think anybody who has everybody has adversity in life, especially as a business owner, small business. You see the things, the pitfalls, and all that kind of stuff. Nobody teaches you. It's unfortunate our education system doesn't help people understand that part. Yes, they go, we have a business class, we have this, we have that, but it's not directed at the small business. It's directed at you become a manager of Walmart somewhere. You know what I mean? That's almost what it's like. And nobody's doing that. Now, there are entrepreneurs out there that are doing a much better job than these universities are of getting people to understand that process. But I had no idea. I went in blind. Really, one guy helped guide me as much as he could, but there were many times I pitfalls. You know what I mean? I remember staying up till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and then having to get back up at 4 or 5, whatever time it was, to start all over and do it all again. That's what I think people miss. And that's why I think a lot of people fall off, because they think, oh, I'm just going to open a gym. It's easy. Everything looks easy. It doesn't mean that it is, because you're only looking at the outskirts of it. You know what I mean? Like you starting up your own studio. Oh, it looks easy. All he does is put some records together. He goes, into the studio for a couple hours and he's good to go. There's no way it's like that. That's the hardest part. And I think that's where people fall off, because they don't want to put the work in. They just don't want to. But when I started, I still had 3 other jobs. So I didn't take a dime out of this business for personally, okay, because everything went back into the business. For the first 5 years, everything went back into pump into the business so I could grow the business, get the equipment that I needed and stuff like that. And then I still worked 3 jobs. So there were the things that I saw that people didn't want to put in. So they start out, thought it was going to be easy, didn't start like that, boom, and then they fall off. Marketing's another thing. You have to be able to get out and market to the schools and stuff. Back then, we didn't have social media. There was nothing like get on your cell phone and go text somebody. You actually had to go to the school. So I would send recruitment letters to the schools, you know what I mean, to the coaches, say, can you hand these out to whoever? Like Ty. Ty's a big-time basketball player. Can you hand it to him? So he'd get it almost like a recruitment letter, open it up, and then boom, can come and train here. So there were some of the things I had to do, and a lot of people didn't want to do those extra things to continue their business.
One key thing that you just said was you reinvested the profit to the business back into it for like 5 years. A lot of people, when they start businesses, they'll take the money right away and go spend it. Not realizing that you need to have the type of cash flow, so you recycle the money back in until you have it up, and then you might be able to take your owner's draw out, or however you might want to invest in employees and things of that nature. So I think that's something smart, and that's a lesson that a lot of people watching here can take. You can take from that as a business owner too. So
and you're right. And I think that's where people always say, well, take your cut first and then go on. It's easy to say, much more difficult to do, especially when you start out. And that's why I said, well, listen, I'm going to continue to work these 3 jobs. I'll just suck it up. You know what I mean? And that's where a lot of people don't want to do it. They want to take that money out and then they see themselves, fall behind on payments, all that kind of stuff. I'm very blessed because the gym here that we're at is actually part of my house. So it's part of my property. So I was very blessed to be able to go before a board, say, hey, this is what I want to do. They had to give me the variance and all that kind of stuff. And then it took off from there. Other people don't always have that luxury. Now, as you know, you've been here many times, it's a dead end road. So there's not a lot of traffic. So that's one of the downfalls. But, one of the good parts is it's right here. You know what I mean? I just walk up, do my thing in the morning, you know what I mean? And then I go back down when I need something. So that's one of the benefits.
So it's crazy because it's like a lot of people don't have the opportunity to have a gym right next to the house or even be able to have their business next to the house. So when you move to the house, or I guess when did you move to the house first and then see the opportunity, or you just seen the land and was like, I want to get the house?
Yep. So the whole thing was based on this building being here, but me having a house on it.
Okay.
So I wanted the whole holistic, if you want to call it, approach to everything, where I had a field outside so I could run and stuff like that, have the hill and all that. So the whole idea when I first looked at the property was, can I put the gym on? And then second is there a house that I can also work off of, live off of, I should say. And so I was very blessed. God looked down on me and said, all right, here's your opportunity. Now you go grow it. And I think that's what one of the easy things is having that opportunity to do that. The hard part was growing it, but at least God was looking over it and saying, all right, here's your opportunities. Now go do something with it. So that was one of the good parts. And like I said, a lot of people don't have that opportunity because some people aren't willing to go that extra mile. Like I had to go before a board and say, here's my thing. I had to bring people in, who were training with me at the time and why I should have the variance. And thank God the people on the variance board were like, all right, we see your point. We see what you're trying to do for the kids. Go for it.
And so for the people watching, what is a variance board in relation to opening up a gym on your own property? Yeah,
so the property, everything's zoned a certain thing. The government always has its hand in something, so it's always trying to zone something like a certain way. So it's residential 1, commercial, agriculture, all that kind of stuff. So what you can do on that land. So they were worried that if they made me commercial, I'd put a gas station here. Well, you see where I'm located. If there's a gas station here, the person's probably not that intelligent, right? Because there's we're nowhere to go. They're going to have like 4 people show up in a week, but that's what they thought. So I had to go before him and say, why would I put a gas station? It doesn't make any sense. 0 sense whatsoever. So I had to go, before the variance board, who grants you variances because I was zoned one way, but I wanted to put a commercial type building or something on it. So I had to go before them and say, hey, here are my reasons, go through my whole reason, argue my point because they came back with questions all the time and then try to win it over. So there were 6 people on the board, 5 of them agree with me and it was a majority rule. So I was very fortunate that the variance went through and then I could open up.
And the important part too is you said you brought like clients with you. So that's the importance of relationships and in business. People being able to actually come out and vouch for you, because without that, it would have been a lot harder.
Yes, much harder. So doing this. It was great because 2 of the kids that I brought over, Central Dolphin had a phenomenal year. They're 13-1 in football. And 2 of my guys were football players, studs. They were going Division I and stuff like that. They came and spoke on my behalf. Well, 3 of the board members, were like, oh, man, this is awesome. You know what I mean? It's almost like star-studded type stuff. And they, you know what I mean? I'm not saying that's the reason why, but I think it helped out, like you said, specifically, definitely. 100%. Yeah, 100%.
Man, that's just good in business overall. So I guess going forward now, you've been open for 20 years. Where do you want to take the gym? Like, do you want to commercialize it even more to where you have multiple locations, or are you looking to expand? Like, what are your goals long term?
I tried the multiple location thing. It's not fun. It's not fun. And in my honest opinion, some people might have a blast with it. I don't like a blast. I'm not a huge employee guy. I think employees are very difficult. Now, I'm very blessed. I have a great employee right now, my main guy. He's very, very good. I did have one before who was good for a long time, and then eventually, you faded off. But it's very difficult with employees because they don't have the same motivation that you have. So with the gym, I still love working with athletes. Still love working with making their speed, technique, all that kind of stuff better. But I'm really into something more in trying to get people to be healthy. In the sense of, if you come to me with hip pain, how can I help you get out of that pain without taking drugs, without surgery, without all that? I talk to so many people that the doctor says I need a total hip or a total knee. And I look at them, I'm like, well, why? Well, it's bone on bone. I'm like, try these exercises. They do the exercise. They come back to me 6 months and they're like, dude, it doesn't hurt anymore. And I'm trying to get people to understand that there's better ways out there. God created us a certain way. And I tell people this all the time. God created us a certain way. We ruin that by the way we move, the way we sit, the way we do that. God didn't intend us to sit for long periods of time. He didn't intend us to do the things we eat, the crap that we eat. So we do this to ourselves, so our bodies break down. Doesn't mean that we can't fix it naturally. We just got to have a guide helping us get to that point. It's on us to do it. So I tell everybody, I didn't get you better. You got yourself better. You had to want it. Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to instill in people now. I call it more or less the Earth Strong program, where it's the spiritual, mental, and physical aspect. You got to take all three, put that in there, and then have people understand what they can do with their life. Everybody has a purpose. Like you have a purpose, and this is your purpose right here, right? God's helping guide you in a certain way. Are there always going to be uphills? Yes. Are there going to be downhills? Yes. There's always going to be stuff that's hard, but God's helping you out in that respect. So I always try to tell people, this is what we're trying to do, but you have to make your body resilient. You have to make your mental part resilient. You have to make your spiritual resilient. It has to be able to handle whatever somebody throws at you. So if I come in and punch you in the face, okay, can you handle that? You're going to fall on the ground and cry and then not be able to get up, right? And I'm not saying I would ever do that because I would never would, because you'd probably beat me up. But you got to understand, like, how many people can't go outside in the cold up here? People hate it. And then we wonder why our bodies fall apart. Well, you're not outside. Outside is where we're meant to be. Now, I'm not saying if it's 20 degrees below that you should be out there forever, but you should be outside. You should enjoy the things that God put here on this earth to, excel and know your purpose and know why you're put here on this earth. And I don't think people really know. I think people just go throughout the day. I got to go take the kids here, here, and here, and that's it. And they're bummed out. I'm like, dude, I love every second of every day that I wake up. When I wake up at 3:45, 4 o'clock in the morning, dude, I'm ready to go. Let's go. You know what I mean? And that's how people should be, but they're not, especially in the wintertime. Let's be honest. How many people you see coming all moody and grumpy, especially, the sun's not out? People act like that. So I'm trying to start a whole new program where I'm trying to get people to understand you got to be earth strong. You got to make yourself resilient in all three areas. If you make yourself resilient in all three areas, your chances of survival and excelling and understanding your purpose are limitless. And I think we stop. We give ourselves the ceiling that we put ourselves in. The sky's the limit.
Yeah, that's true. Because I think of another thing too, when you talked about the elements and stuff like that. That's one thing I always liked about this gym, was when you come in here, whatever it feels like outside is how it's going to feel in here. But as an athlete, I felt like that helped mold my body. Like I go to Planet Fitness sometimes. I hate the air conditioner in there. You can ask me. I told my girls I hate the air conditioner in there. She's like, why? I said, because the gym I used to go to back home did not have this. So I feel like I was getting better faster. I felt like it was better for my body. It's too much air hitting me and stuff like that. But when you break it down like that, it all makes sense.
And I just try to get people to understand that, listen, just say everything went out. Just say everything went out. Say you lost your power for weeks, not just a day or two. You lost your power. You lost it. How would you survive? How? And I honestly mean this. I mean, people laugh at me when I say this, but what if this does happen? Go back to the 1920s. So people forget the 1920s. 1920s, they call it the Roaring 20s. Why? Because people were making a heck of a lot of money, doing a lot of great things. What happened in 1929? The crash. And the 30s were horrible, right? So imagine you're being here, you're growing, you're getting better. Here's where the bottom is, right? And all of a sudden you have a crash and you go back down. Could you live? Now imagine today where our standards are up here and the bottom's here. Imagine it falling all the way back down. And people say it'll never happen, and hopefully it never does. But what if it does? Could you handle it? Not you personally, but could people handle that? Could people go hunt their own food? Could people survive outside a night if it's cold? Could people survive if it's hot out? I don't know. I really think people would break apart.
It takes a certain mentality to be able to adjust to that.
Yes, and it's all that. And that's why I think all three are the key. You know what I mean? You got to have the physical in place. You got to be able to pick something up, carry it a certain distance if you have to, if you get an animal. You have to have, like you said, the mental mentality to do it. But you have to have the spiritual. You have to have still belief that God's going to help save you or help you through a certain situation. And I said, that's what we have to prepare ourselves for. We have to be ready at all times.
That's true. And some people have high highs and low lows.
Yes.
But if you have a low, you got to be able to bounce back from that. You can't stay down there.
And that's in business, like you said. It's in business, same thing. You're going to have many lows. I have more lows than I ever have highs. More lows. But I learned from those lows more than I ever learned from when the times are good. Sometimes I allow my brain to shut off, thinking, oh, everything's good. And then you hit this bottom, you're like, oh, crap, I got to do this again. You know what I mean? But that's my own stupidity, you know what I mean? But that's what it's all about. It is in business. Understand where the lows are, learn from those lows, or ask somebody for help, and then grow out of it. And then make sure you don't make that same mistake again.
And so in this business, how important is it to be connected to different people within, because this is like the sports wellness industry. How important are relationships in this business?
Yeah, it's important. Definitely when you're dealing with coaches, you know what I mean? When you're dealing with coaches because of the athletes and things like that, whether it's a high school coach, a club, a president. So I think that connection is really, really important. Also having connections with, say you come in with an ACL and you're coming back from your ACL. Do I know the doc? What kind of doc is it? Is it a guy who doesn't perform surgeries very well? Okay, where do they lack in this? So I know how to actually treat them when they're coming back. So the connection part is really key, but also one of the other connection part is probably the most important is having an understanding of the clientele that you have. Because I got to be able to understand who you are, okay? So I can actually get the best out of you. Yeah. So are you a guy that I can actually push? Ty was always a guy that had never had an issue. I could push Ty. Ty, we're going outside. It's 105 degrees outside, Dave. Yep, we're good to go. And you're like, okay. And we go outside. Now, some of these kids of today, they probably would cry a little bit. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I might only be able to take them out for 30 seconds to a minute and have to bring them in. I can keep you out there for a while and then see, all right, he's starting to break down. We need to get him back in. But I knew how far I could push you. So the connection with the client is probably the most important that you can actually have. Yes, with the coaches and parents is very, very important. But the client, with the client, whoever you're working with, that connection is deeply important.
And in business overall, that really is customer service.
Yes.
At the end of the day, and that's what keeps the client coming back and actually building a relationship and an actual bond with the business and the business owner and the people that run it.
Yes.
So I think that's important for people to know too, because I think people just get the flashy thing is just selling whatever your product is. Sell. I got shirts, whatever. But I don't think businesses, especially small and mid-sized businesses, take the time out to say, let's set up some good customer service, or let's put some extra things in the box for free and give it to them.
Yep.
Or, let's talk to them a little bit and actually get to know them, things like, that nature that create that personal bond with the customer or the client. I think that's like real important. That's nice that you were able to recognize that so early.
Yeah.
And then just go straight into it. But that all goes down in the personality.
Yes.
Yeah,
and I think you're right. You look at it. So if I went to Walmart, you and I went to Walmart right now, would they know who we are?
Nope.
They wouldn't probably care. As long as we spent the money there or whatever, they really don't care about you for whatever reason. They'll say they do, but they really, at the end of the day. Now go to a mom and pop store that sells something that's similar to Walmart, whatever you want. They're probably going to try to get to know you. Why? Because they're going to want you to come back. Now, it might be a little bit more expensive, but they have to cover different costs. They can't get it in the bulk like Walmart or any of those big stores, right? So there's a huge difference in what you do. So if you don't have the customer service aspect of it, knowing your clientele, small businesses are going to fail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's unfortunate because a lot of people don't see that. People who don't own a business don't see that part. Like, well, you're a little bit more expensive than Walmart. I can get at Walmart cheaper. Yeah, but this is the customer service. This is the part that you want.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You can go talk to that person about this, this, and this. And I think that's why you're starting to see small businesses fall off. And less people do that kind of business, you know what I mean, than, the Walmarts of the world and stuff like that.
Because I'm a customer service guy. If I go to your business and it's bad customer service, I'll probably never go back.
Yep.
And then I'll tell somebody else, don't go there.
Yeah.
I'm that type of guy. I'll tell them, like,
it should be. Yeah.
Because I feel like with my business, I try my best to show good customer service. So, I feel like they should show me good customer service too.
Yes.
But, it all goes down to personality and how far you want to take the business and everything.
Yeah.
So with that being said, you have multiple high-level athletes, low-level athletes, pros, pro football, basketball. I think there was a hockey guy working out in here when I was in high school.
With some hockey guys, yeah.
Yeah, it was like lacrosse. Like it was all different types of sports in here. What brand of athletes, I guess I should say, what sport is like the most fun for you to train?
I'll be honest with you. It used to be football. I'll be honest. I really liked football at one point. Sort of faded off with that whole brand, and I think some of it is because of what football has become. It's become such this, the NIL and all this kind of stuff. It's all about the me syndrome now, and I understand people want to get paid for what they do. I have zero issues with that, but it's just not for me. So I really enjoy working with a lot of the female athletes. Yeah. I see what they push. I see how hard it is for them sometimes to get the recognition. Because let's be honest, you go to the local online news around here. What do they mostly cover? Football and men's basketball.
Yeah.
Boys basketball. Fine, I have zero issue with that. That's probably what the readers want, so they got to cater that. But how many good female athletes are out there?
Oh, there's a lot, and they're not paying attention to them.
Exactly, and that kind of gets to me because I'm like, dude, and I have 2 daughters, so I understand that they'll probably come up at some point. And if they don't get recognition, it's fine. I'm not worried about that. That's not their ticket to school. If they get to school and they have a scholarship, great, so be it. If not, no big deal.
Yeah.
But my whole thing is let's help these young athletes out, especially females, become better and realize their true potential because we're seeing too many get hurt. So females are 8 times more likely to tear their ACL. 8 times than a male.
My sister
That's
tore
ridiculous.
hers.
Exactly. It's ridiculous So what are we doing to help mitigate that? So we need to educate them. They need to understand that they have somebody in the corner. And that's what I really like working with the female athlete. And I like working with the person who just wants to work hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not here for the spotlight. If they get, a scholarship, great. If they don't, who cares? They want to understand what it is to like to work. So it's going to carry them over past their sports career. Because we all know organized sports ends at some point in somebody's life.
Yeah.
Whether it's 13, 14, 22, 30, whatever, it's going to end. How are you taking care of your body or yourself after that? What do you learn?
What do you want to do after that?
Exactly.
And it's crazy because, when I went to college, I'm getting up to go work out and stuff like that. But none of my other friends are seeing me do this.
Yep.
So one day I'm like, I got to get up and work out tomorrow, like 5. This dude, yeah, you're not doing that. I'm like, yo, you don't really know me, man. Like, you just, you met me from here, but you don't know me from over here. Like, I've been getting up at like 4 a.m. and working out type thing.
Yeah.
So that was just funny to me hearing somebody say that, because I never heard that in my life. But I'm like, he don't really know me like that. So
yeah, but you're right. Cool. You're right though. See, but that's the instilling. That's what your dad did for you. He helped instill that all into you, so you knew your discipline, personal discipline, self-discipline to get yourself up. Because I got to get this done because I have other things I have to do throughout the day. I have no other time, so this is the time I got to do it. Yeah. And I think that's key.
And that it carries over to work too, because you get older, now you got to get up and go to work. You miss X amount of days, they fire you. Yep. So I think that just carries over that same discipline.
Yes.
And it's good to have that at a young age.
Huge. And you can learn a lot through that with, either by the parents, but if the parents aren't instilling in it, they got to get it somewhere. Yeah. And either coaches do it, which I think less and less coaches are doing that, unfortunately, because of their hands are tied to some respect from some administrations, or if they're going to a trainer or whatever else, somebody has to instill that in them, because we're missing that. A lot of kids are not self-disciplined. Now I'm very blessed, because 5 o'clock, you were in here about a couple weeks ago, and there are a bunch of kids that come in before school. They get up by 4:30, 4:15, they get their rear ends here at 5, and they train till 6.
When I left here, I told so many people, the young people I've seen in here, I was like, yo, I'm like, look at it just made me happy seeing people in the gym at that time, but at a young age, because I already know, I don't even know them personally. I just know where the careers are going to go.
Yeah. And it's crazy, because some of those kids have been doing that for like 3 or 4 years. So it's not just, hey, they just started up. Most of these have been like 3 or 4 years. And a bunch of these ones now are just signing their because they're now, the seniors and stuff are now signing to go to colleges.
Yep.
And it's because of their hard work that they put in. That's the discipline they put in, and I give them credit. I give them all the credit in the world. Am I hard on them in the morning? Like, yeah, I'm still hard on them. But I also respect what they do, because they respected me to show up. Hey, Dave, I'm coming in at 5 o'clock tomorrow. Cool. And there they are, ready to go, 5 o'clock. You know what I mean? Rip, roaring, raring. And I think that's key. And I think that's what all businesses, now granted, we're all in a different sector, but a service business, if you're a trainer, something to that aspect, you got to be able to help discipline, give kids discipline, self-discipline, all that kind of stuff to make sure they're going to excel. Yeah. We got to get it from a whole bunch of different areas. You just can't be, we're going to rely on mom and dad. I think that's number one. The school systems, like I said, I think some people try and other ones just don't care sometimes. You probably see a little better than I do. But then coaches, how many coaches are doing that? Coaches all say it, but then I look at the kids and I'm like, are you really doing that? You're just saying you're doing it. You're not holding the feet to the fire. If a kid messes up, guess what? I remember your dad. If a kid messed up, your dad disciplined him. Yeah. He was like, you're not playing or whatever. Yeah. These kids nowadays, they mess up and they still are allowed to play. So I think we need to do a better job of disciplining, what I mean? Holding people accountable for their actions. Yeah. And I think, and I'm very blessed to be able to do that here, but I also praise them when they do something right, or they bust their butts and they come in here at 5 o'clock in the morning. Hey, great job. I'll give them a high five. Great job. I think that's awesome. Give them mad props.
And a lot of times that's what the younger crowd's looking for anyway. They kind of do want somebody to step in and be a little more assertive and help them, because they look at like, I'm learning something now. This is something I'm familiar with. So you either going to fold or you're going to adjust to it and then become a better person or athlete, or, whatever you decide to be later on in life. It'll just make you better overall.
Yes. That's key. Huge.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate you getting on the podcast, man.
I appreciate it, man.
It's a great conversation.
I appreciate you allowing me the opportunity to be on. Definitely. It's always a pleasure, my man. You know that. I appreciate everything you do, man. And just continue doing what you do with my man Ty here. One of my young guys way back in the day. I remember him coming in. You used to wear glasses, didn't you?
Yeah.
I remember that. I got it. He used to come in with these glasses, and he used to kick everybody's butt in here, work the rear end off, man. Oh, man. This kid was a workhorse, and that's why I always see him when he's on social media, still working. When he was in the studio at 3 o'clock in the morning, everybody's like, yo, he's in there so late. I'm like, not for Ty. It's not late. Ty's getting his job done. He's going to do it till he finishes. So this man learned a lot of discipline as well, not just from me, primarily from his dad. But I mean, that's a compliment to you, and also the work that you're doing. But that's what it should be.
But all my great coaches played a huge role in my success. That's the way I look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, without my pops and then my other coaches,
Yes.
I don't even know how my mind would be right now. I got a lot of friends that's in jail and stuff like that. So I don't know where my mind would be at if I didn't have that.
Yeah, it's all on you, man. I'm proud of you, though.
Thank you. Appreciate it.